Welcome to Seductive Chronicles. In today's video, we're going to talk about something that silently destroys more relationships than cheating, more than distance, and more than incompatibility ever could. We're going to talk about the moment a loyal man realizes that his love, his presence, his sacrifice, his devotion is simply not enough. And we're going to tell you exactly why that happens and what it truly means. You know what's deeply unsettling? Some women have everything. A man who listens without being asked. A man who provides without complaining. A man who shows up, not just physically, but emotionally, consistently, fully. A man who genuinely, wholeheartedly cares. And yet, despite all of that, she still seems pulled toward the attention of other men, like a compass that can't stop searching for north, no matter how settled the ground beneath it is. If you've ever been that man, you already know the particular kind of pain that follows. It's not loud. It doesn't arrive all at once. It creeps in quietly, like water finding every crack. And it brings with it the most dangerous question a man can ask himself. What am I missing? Maybe you pointed the finger at social media, at the culture, at the apps, the notifications, the endless stream of strangers who can now reach her with the tap of a screen. Maybe you pointed the finger at modern dating, at a generation that was taught to always keep looking, always keep options open. And maybe in your darkest, most honest moments, you pointed the finger at yourself. You wondered whether you were less attractive than the men she noticed. Less exciting, less desirable, less enough. But here is what I want you to consider today. What if none of those things are the real reason? What if the answer has nothing to do with social media, nothing to do with other men, and nothing, absolutely nothing, to do with your worth as a partner? What if her hunger for attention says far less about who you are and far more about something that was already broken inside her, long before she ever met you? Because there is a line, a very specific, very important line between enjoying attention and depending on it. And the moment that line gets crossed, everything changes. The relationship changes. The dynamic changes. And if you don't understand why it happens, you will spend years chasing a solution that doesn't exist, and losing yourself in the process today. We are going to go beneath the surface behavior, and expose the real psychological engine driving it. We are going to talk about why your love often fails to solve the problem. Why stranger attention can feel more powerful than yours ever will. And why the question you've been asking, how do I become enough, may have been the wrong question all along. Before we dive in, if you've ever loved someone who always seemed to need attention from somewhere else, no matter how much you gave, drop a comment below. Your story may be more common than you realize. And if this is your first time here, welcome to Seductive Chronicles. Subscribe now, because this channel is built for men who are ready to stop guessing and start understanding. Most men start this story in exactly the same place. They see the woman they love responding to outside attention, a coworker, a stranger, someone in her comments, and immediately, their mind turns inward. Maybe I'm not attractive enough. Maybe I've become too predictable. Maybe I'm not exciting anymore. So they do what good men always do. They work harder. Better dates. More messages. More patience. More availability. They pour everything they have into becoming enough, convinced that if they can just reach the right level, the problem will disappear. That logic feels reasonable. If she keeps looking elsewhere, something must be missing at home. Right? Not necessarily. And this is the first thing men need to hear. Not every behavior a woman displays is a reflection of how she feels about you. A woman who constantly seeks outside validation is not automatically announcing your failure. She is not comparing you to every man in the room. She is not quietly searching for your replacement. But because men are wired to take responsibility, to fix, to solve, to improve, that is exactly how they interpret it. And so, the cycle begins. The more attention she seems to need, the more he gives. The more he gives, the more exhausted and invisible he becomes. He stops acting from confidence. He starts performing, auditioning for a role he already earned, in a relationship he already committed to. And somewhere in all of that effort, he quietly loses himself. The question was never whether he was enough. The real question is whether the thing she is chasing can be given by any person at all. That distinction changes everything. Here is what makes this pattern so disorienting. It almost always wears the mask of confidence. She knows how to walk into a room. She knows how to hold attention without trying. She seems completely comfortable being seen, being wanted, being noticed. Most people look at her and assume she must have exceptionally high self-esteem. But appearances are designed to deceive. The people who appear most confident are often the most dependent on the reactions of others. Their confidence is not self-generated. It is borrowed, constantly, from the outside world. Think of it this way. A person with a genuine, rooted sense of self carries their worth wherever they go. Whether a room notices them or ignores them entirely, they remain largely the same person inside. Their value doesn't fluctuate based on who's watching, but a person with a borrowed sense of self works on a completely different system. Their inner worth rises and falls with the responses they receive. When attention arrives, something inside them ignites. When attention disappears, something wobbles. A compliment feels like fuel. A glance feels meaningful. A room full of admiration creates a temporary sense of certainty that she is real, that she matters, that she is valuable. The problem is that none of it lasts. The feeling fades faster than she expects, every single time. And when it fades, the hunger returns. So the search begins again. Another source, another reaction, another reminder that she exists and has worth. This is the trap most men never see. She isn't chasing other men. She is chasing a feeling that those men temporarily produce inside her. And because the feeling is always temporary, the search never truly ends. From the outside, she looks magnetic and powerful. Privately, she may be more fragile than anyone around her realizes. Now, here's an uncomfortable truth that most men aren't prepared for. Even your attention eventually loses its ability to solve the problem. And this is not a flaw unique to her. This is the human brain doing exactly what it was designed to do. Psychologists call it adaptation. The mind acclimates to what becomes predictable. The first time creates a strong reaction. By the 100th time, the reaction barely registers. In the beginning of your relationship, your texts created anticipation. Your compliments carried real weight. Your affection felt exciting because it wasn't guaranteed. Then time passed. You became consistent. You became dependable. You became safe. And those are the exact qualities that build a lasting relationship. But for someone addicted to validation, those same qualities quietly make your approval feel ordinary. Her brain begins filing your affection under expected, and what is expected rarely produces the same emotional spike as something uncertain. This is where many men make their most painful mistake. They notice her becoming less responsive, and they double their efforts. More compliments, more reassurance, more presence. What they don't understand is that they are turning up the volume on a signal her mind has already cataloged as background noise. The strategy stopped working long ago, but they keep using it, and the reward never comes. Asterisk, so why does attention from a stranger feel so powerful in comparison? It isn't because the stranger is better. It is because the stranger is uncertain. Think about this carefully. You tell her she's beautiful. A stranger tells her she's beautiful. The words are identical, but the emotional impact is completely different, and the reason is psychological. Your approval has already been accounted for. She knows you're attracted to her. She knows you're invested. In her mind, your compliment carries the weight of a given, its confirmation of something she already assumed. But the stranger had no obligation to notice. He could have looked away. He could have said nothing. The fact that he didn't, that he chose to direct attention toward her out of all possible choices, makes his reaction feel like discovery, like fresh evidence that she has worth. Asterisk, and for someone who depends on external approval to regulate their sense of value. Fresh evidence is everything. This is why so many men fall into the trap of trying to compete. They watch her respond more openly to outside attention, and immediately interpret it as rejection. So they increase the compliments, increase the reassurance, increase the effort. But they are not competing against another man. They are competing against a psychological mechanism, against the brain's natural response to uncertainty. And uncertainty almost always wins. Asterisk. Now, we get to the deepest layer, the one most people never reach. What we've been describing isn't just a habit or a personality trait. For many women caught in this pattern, the pursuit of validation begins operating like an addiction, not to alcohol, not to substances, but to the neurological reward of being noticed. The brain doesn't become addicted to pleasure. It becomes addicted to anticipation, to the possibility of a reward, not the guarantee of one. This is why unpredictable rewards are so much more powerful than consistent ones. A guaranteed reward becomes boring. A possible reward becomes fascinating. The brain stays alert, engaged, emotionally invested, because it never knows when the next payoff will arrive. Every notification, every message, every new follower, every stranger who reacts, most of the time it means nothing. But occasionally, just occasionally, something arrives that delivers the emotional hit the brain has been waiting for. And that possibility is enough to keep the entire system running. Social media amplifies this to an almost unbearable degree. The attention never stops. The audience never fully disappears. The opportunities for validation remain available around the clock. A woman caught in this loop doesn't consciously think, "I need male attention right now." What she feels is restlessness, a low hum of discomfort, a subtle emotional itch that pushes her toward her phone, toward the comments, toward any screen that might produce a new signal. And here is the distinction that matters. This does not automatically mean she is being unfaithful. In many cases, the individual men involved are almost irrelevant. The men are the vehicle. The feeling is the destination. She is not looking at them, she is looking at herself, through them, measuring, checking, asking the questions that never seem to go quiet. Am I still attractive? Do I still matter? Am I still enough? Everything we've discussed leads to a single question, and it is not the question you've been asking yourself. Stop asking, "How do I become enough?" That question assumes you are the source of the problem. You are not. A far more important question is this: can she create a sense of worth without constantly borrowing it from other people? That is the real issue. Not whether she receives validation. Everyone enjoys being noticed, being appreciated, being seen. The issue is whether she can function without needing a steady, unrelenting stream of it. Here is a simple and revealing test. Stop overcompensating, not as manipulation, not as punishment, but simply because it is not working and it is costing you. Stop rushing to reassure every insecurity. Stop performing your value. Stop treating her emotional hunger as your personal responsibility to satisfy. Then watch what happens. A woman who is genuinely building self-worth will eventually turn inward. She may feel uncomfortable for a while, but she will learn to find steadiness from within, rather than from outside. A woman who depends entirely on external approval will react differently. She will search more reactions, more confirmation, more evidence that she still matters. And that response tells you something far more important than anything she has ever said. It tells you whether you are participating in a healthy relationship, or quietly serving as an emotional life support system. If there is one truth I want to leave with you today, it is this: you cannot become the source of another person's self-worth. You can love someone completely. You can support them, encourage them, fight for them, but you cannot build their identity for them. That is not love. That is a burden, and it will slowly bury you. The right woman won't treat your attention like background noise. She won't need strangers to remind her who she is. She will bring her own sense of value into the relationship, and she will meet you there. Before you go, tell me in the comments, When was the first moment you realized that no amount of effort was fixing the problem? I'm willing to bet your instincts knew the truth long before your mind was ready to accept it. If this video gave you a new way of seeing things, subscribe to Seductive Chronicles, and share it with the man who keeps blaming himself for a battle he was never meant to fight alone. Because a woman who needs constant attention isn't searching for more men. She is searching for herself. The question is whether she is willing to find herself somewhere other than in the eyes of strangers.